Well, most of Australia's great economic reforms have been undertaken by Labor governments. And this chapter just underlines that a Shorten Labor government will be no different, undertaking big and ambitious economic reforms. A bold plan focused on keeping our 27 years of uninterrupted economic growth going. A plan which ensures that our budget is prudently managed. And thanks for the compliment, Doug. Yes, it is hard to get money out of us, but we'll make big and important investments in our nation's future. And we'll ensure that growth is fairly shared across our country, across cities and regions, across generations and across people of all incomes. Only Labor can bring a holistic approach which recognises the benefits of economic growth, but the necessity to ensure that that economic growth is shared fairly. We know it's not a choice between growth and fairness. We know actually those two things are essential partners in our country's future. Economic growth and equality are the key ingredients of our mission. With inequality rising around the world and in Australia, there's never been a more important time for Labor to lead. We know that one of the greatest threats to our way of life in Australia is rising inequality, and we need to ensure that wealth is shared equally. And we know that the 20th century, late 20th century and early 21st century has seen an attack on organised unionism and a retreat from active government. We have a government who thinks the answer to this is to cut penalty rates, to strip away the conditions of the lowest paid. And as Bill confirmed, we won't have a bar of it and we will reverse it. And it's this type of approach which has come at the expense of a sense of shared prosperity across our country. It's contributed to the worst wages growth on record in our country. Wages growth that hasn't kept up with productivity and hard work and the ingenuity of our people. And it's why we in opposition have made the case for an activist policy that we want to put in place in government. And under Bill's leadership, we will take to the next election the boldest and most progressive tax reform in generations. We'll make sure that multinationals pay their fair share of tax. We'll unwind the system which means that income tax refunds are paid at the expense of $5 billion a year to people who haven't paid income tax. We'll stop family trusts being used for tax minimisation purposes. And we'll ensure that negative gearing and capital gains tax are reformed, made fairer and are made more progressive. This is at the heart of our approach to fund important initiatives in health, in education and housing. It means we can deliver a stronger budget and we can deliver more investment. It means we can deliver, as Bill said, world's best practice when it comes to access to preschool for 3- and 4-year-olds. And I want to say this, it also means we can finally invest in making sure that those women in Australia who've committed no crime other than working hard all their life retire on a fair income. We will not tolerate the situation where women are retiring into poverty at a rate of 2 out of 5 of Australian women. Women are retiring with a fraction of the retirement incomes of men. Women are taking breaks from their career to raise their children and not being paid superannuation while they do so. Some of our lowest paid workers are not receiving superannuation payments at all because they earn too little. All this will be fixed under a Shorten Labor government. So, colleagues, I commend this chapter to you. It encloses a big agenda, a bold agenda, an agenda we can be proud of, and an agenda we can take to the Australian people and seek a mandate for and implement in government in the greatest traditions of reforming Labor governments, and the Shorten Labor government will be no different to that great tradition. I commend the chapter to you.